So how much money do you really need to retire in Thailand in 2024? In this video, I'm going to run through a full scenario and do the math for you for what I think the bare minimum would be. Absolute bare bones of how much you'd have to have saved away to be able to pull the trigger and move over here full time for the rest of your life. I will paint a bit of a picture of what type of lifestyle that gets you. And I'm going to end the video by telling you what I personally think would be the biggest risk in doing it on the bare minimum budget. My name is Chris Parker, and this channel exists for only one reason, and that's to give you guys as much good information as I can about relocating and moving to Thailand. I put out a new video every Sunday night here in Bangkok time, probably Sunday morning where a lot of you live. And the reason I do it on Sunday is because I know that one day you're going to get so sick and tired of your boss that you're going to watch one of these videos, call up your boss, send him an email, a WhatsApp, and just let him know, screw you, buddy, I'm done. I'm moving to Thailand. So that's what this channel's here for. It's here to help you when you do make that decision. I do touch on cost of living a lot on this channel, but that's more monthly expenses and the details of what certain things cost. In this video, I'm going to be doing more back of the napkin math and talking about the actual amount of savings that you would need to, like I said, live here for the rest of your life. The big variable, of course, is your age. Like if you're 35 years old and watching this video, you're going to need a lot more money than if you're 65 years old and watching this video. But for our example, I'm going to just go with the classic. Let's assume that someone's 55 years old and they're looking for the good old Freedom 55. As far as I'm concerned, 55 is a good young retirement age where you're still young enough to have, you know, your physical abilities with you to really enjoy and squeeze the lemon of the next chapter of life, which would be your first chapter of retired life. So keep that in mind as we get into this list. To start with, let's talk about the hard costs to actually just make the move in the first place. So before you're even living here, which we're going to get to, you got to get over here. And before you get over here, there are some hard costs. The first one to consider is your visa. We're going to assume that you want a retirement visa. Sure, you could come over and stay on a tourist visa, leave the country every 3 months, but that's a little ridiculous. That's more of a short-term solution. We're talking about moving over here for the rest of your life. So let's assume you want a retirement visa. One of the biggest requirements for the retirement visa is to park 800,000 Thai baht into a Thai bank account, or you can prove that you have 65,000 Thai baht a month in income. So if you do have a pension, then, well, that helps you in all kinds of good ways. And if your pension was over 65,000 baht a month, which is about 1,900 US dollars, then as long as that money was hitting your Thai bank account every month, that would allow you to qualify for a retirement visa. If you don't have that, then you actually have to put 800,000 Thai baht, which is about $25,000. I'll be putting up the currency conversions throughout this whole video so that you can follow along in the currency of your choice. Actually, that's about 23,000 US dollars. So right off the bat, you got to park that money, and it's not money that you can spend. It has to be there every single year when you renew your retirement visa. So consider that 800,000 baht, that first $23,000 part of your nest egg, it's gone. Next, you got some relocation expenses. So you're going to need a plane ticket to get here. Let's just assume that's $1,500. Obviously, it depends where in the world you live, but we're going to assume $1,500. You're going to most likely want to ship some goods over here. When I moved here, I made a mistake, and I'll share with you the story so that you don't make the same mistake. We were moving from Los Angeles to here. We made one smart move, and that was to not bring any furniture. We had no idea if we were going to have to buy furniture when we got here, but we quickly realized that in Thailand, most condo rentals, most house rentals come furnished. Back where I'm from, the norm is that they're empty and you move your furniture from place to place to place every time you move. But here, all of the furniture, couches, beds, appliances. So we were smart enough to not ship our furniture. But we had been living back in North America for 20 years at the time, so we'd collected a lot of shit. And we tried to purge. We tried to get rid of as much as we could. But as we started packing boxes up, things just kept filling in the boxes. Stuff that we thought, you know what, we might need this one day. Let's not get rid of it. Let's ship it to Thailand. End of the day, we ended up with 58 boxes. So we shipped that over. We found a shipping company. I think for us, that ended up being about $4,000. If you can learn from my mistake, do a better job at purging your shit. We're almost 5 years into living here now, and that 58 boxes is down to about 16 boxes, which is manageable. See if you can get your life into 16 boxes when you retire and move here. If you can, you might be looking at, say, $2,500. I'll leave in as a budget off the top for shipping. When you ship all that stuff, keep in mind when it arrives here, they're going to want some import taxes on your goods. I'm going to be doing a whole video one day in the future about the whole act of shipping your stuff over into Thailand. Let's assume that you're going to need to earmark $1,000 for import taxes on your goods when you get here. My recommendation to you is don't ship all your goods. Definitely don't ship all your furniture unless it's really super personal to you for some reason, and try and purge as much as you can. Because once you get over here, you're most likely going to be living in a very small condo, probably smaller than where you're used to living. There won't be places to put stuff, and you've literally just wasted your money. And this video is the bare bones budget. So if you're the one that's just barely able to scrape by retirement and move here, then do yourself a favor off the top and get rid of a bunch of shit. Don't just put it in a storage locker back home, because now you're going to be spending $300 a month back home just to store all that shit, and you'll forget what's in there after a year, and the bills will just keep coming, or you'll stop paying them, and it'll end up on that show Storage Wars, people bidding out for your shit. So just your plane ticket, shipping your goods, and your import taxes, that totals $5,000 US, which is 176,000 baht. Next up, health insurance. I'm just going to assume that you're going to have to pay for the first year of what would be an annual policy. And I'm going to say that that comes in for a typical 55-year-old at about 123,000 baht, or $3,500 US. And, you know, I guess you might be lucky enough that you'd have coverage back in your home country. Health insurance is one of those things that's so different for everybody. I will leave you a QR code. This place has a cool kind of pricing calculator. You can scan that. I'll leave a link in the description and see how much it would be. But I'm going to assume $3,500 and that you've paid your first year up front. Next, you got to land here and get settled in. I'm going to say that you don't have a condo rental. So let's say you have to stay in a hotel or an Airbnb for your first month. You're going to have to rent your condo. Say you get that after your first month. You're going to have to pay at least 2 months, sometimes 3-month deposit on that place. So let's say that's another $3,000 out of your savings, 105,000 Thai baht. So the total amount that's going to have flown out of your wallet just to get you here, and just to get you through the first month to the point where you're renting a condo and about to really start your life, that stuff all comes into 34,500 US, which is about 1.2 million baht. Okay, so now you're living here. You've got yourself a condo. Let's just talk a bit about general living expenses. I'm not going to go into huge detail about this, but I'm just going to assume that since we're talking about the minimum budget, I'm going to say 40,000 Thai baht a month is what your monthly budget would be. That's about 1,250 US. I know some people that live for less than that. I know a lot of people that spend way more than that, but 40,000 Thai baht a month is I would say, right around the minimum of what you should be budgeting to spend to give you a decent lifestyle. Nothing crazy, but you're also not struggling to enjoy life. So that's going to get you, a nice one-bedroom condo in Bangkok. You're going to be eating a lot of Thai food. You're definitely going to have to mind yourself in the realm of nightlife over here. But that gets you a really decent life over here. I know a lot of people live in really enjoyable lives over here. And unless you need money for golf or extra nightlife or some extravagancies that you consider necessary, 40,000 baht a month is okay. Health insurance, 8,000 baht a month. I think that's pretty reasonable to assume. Visa renewal. If you're on a retirement visa, it costs about 1,900 Thai baht a year. This is another example, like everything, that's a big variable. If you want to go and do it yourself, which for the purposes of this minimum retirement budget, I'm going to assume you're going to head out to immigration office, navigate those waters, wait in line, spend a half a day or a day out there once a year to renew your retirement visa, then that would only cost you 200 baht a month. Of course, there's services here that will basically send a courier to your condo. You give them your passport, and later in the afternoon, they bring it back. Boop, visa's done. Everything's right as rain. But that would cost a lot more than doing it yourself. So we're just going to assume your total monthly cost is 48,200 baht, which is about 1,400 US dollars. So you're 55 years old. You're going to spend 48,200 baht a month. Let's say you need 25 years worth of life saved up. 48,200 times 25 is 14,460,000 Thai baht, or 410,000 US dollars. Now, if you're 55, you get to the end of those 25 years, I'm going to assume that you have some sort of Social Security, some sort of old age pension back in your home country. But that's a risk, and it's one of the things I'm going to talk about at the end of this video when I get into what I think is the biggest risk of kind of pulling the trigger on a plan like this. But first, there's other stuff that you got to factor in. I'm just going to call it unexpected costs. So what are some unexpected costs? Travel. We haven't worked travel in. I'm going to categorize that as regional, domestic, or trips back home. So regional trips, if you're living in Thailand, might be Vietnam, might be Korea. You might want to see Laos or go hiking in Nepal. There might be a whole bunch of reasonably priced regional travel that you want to work into your retirement budget. Then you got domestic travel in Thailand. This can be very cheap. You could drive, take buses, trains. Local flights are very cheap. You can enjoy a lot of domestic travel, probably within that 40,000 baht a month living budget. And then trips back home, that's a big variable. And that's kind of up to you, but those can be a lot more expensive. Let's budget 70,000 baht per year or $2,000 a year for travel. So, 2,000 bucks, 70,000 baht. You could easily go down to Kuala Lumpur. You could take a little 5-day getaway over to Vietnam. You'd be hard pressed to go back to Los Angeles, California for a month, though. That you would have to tack on to your own napkin. Another big unexpected potential cost is healthcare. Unexpected health costs. So dental, medical stuff that isn't covered by your health insurance, or even if it is covered, medical expenses where you have to pay the deductible. Some medicine or prescriptions that you may end up on. Let's keep in mind here, we're starting this timeline at age 55. So I would imagine some unexpected healthcare costs are going to be on the horizon for all of us. But let's say 35,000 baht a year or 1,000 US dollars. Since I've been living here, I've been here 5 years. I've spent less than that. I've had to go to the hospital a couple of times, had an ear infection. I've had some dental work, but healthcare is relatively cheap over here. So we're assuming you're going to stay healthy. So that's another $105,000 bought per year in unexpected costs. Times that by 25 years, that's another 2.625 million bought, or another 75,000 US dollars that you're going to need in that old savings account before you tell your boss to go screw himself. So the grand total, if we add up the relocation costs, the money parked for your retirement visa, and some of these unexpected costs, is 18,295,000 baht, and that equals 519,500 US dollars, just over a cool $500,000. So do you got that in your savings account? Do you have that in your Roth IRA? Or for the Canadians out there, in your RRSP? Maybe you could sell your house or your condo, and you've just finished paying off the mortgage, or maybe your house is worth $750 and you only have $200,000 in mortgage left, and you're thinking, yeah, I could come up with 519,000 US dollars. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that this math doesn't work out, because if you had $500,000, you wouldn't necessarily just park it in a bank account or put the cash in a garbage bag and stuff it under your mattress where it makes 0% interest. You're thinking to yourself, you're smart, you're going to invest that money and it'll make a bit of a return, so you don't need that much to retire under these terms. And although that's true, I just decided to leave out any interest that you would earn on your life savings, because you also have to think about the rising cost of living. Like, all of the expenses in this list are bound to go up over the next 25 years. You know, your $40,000 a month living budget certainly won't be the same in the year 2040 as it is in the year 2024. So I'm just saying that the amount that you might earn through interest is kind of going to offset the inflation that you're going to feel in all of your costs, which leads me to the biggest risk in this whole scenario that I'm talking about. And to me, the biggest risk is that you'd have absolutely no wiggle room at all. None. If you cashed everything in, you had $500,000 US dollars and decided to enact the plan that I just drew out on the napkin, your wiggle room is small. What if a family member back home gets ill and you need to go there for a long period of time? You know, you might find yourself needing to spend 4, 5, 6 months back home. This is like rainy day money that I also think you should factor into your retirement plan. What about when friends and family come to visit you? The one thing about living in Thailand it's the best thing about living in Thailand, but then I wouldn't say it's the worst thing. It is the best thing, but it's an interesting thing, because when you live in a place like Thailand, you always got friends and family who want to come visit. Why not? This place is amazing. But when they come visit, they're on vacation. So they're in spending mode. They're like just peeling off the money and throwing it around. And it's hard to not just kind of spend way more than your typical budget because you want to spend time with them. So that's something to think about, that you need some wiggle room for. And finally, I mean, what about all the nights that you didn't budget for that you ended up at Nana Plaza? I will say, I'd rather die penniless than die with too much money. The thing about lives is that you only get one of them. You only get so many trips around the sun. And retirement in and of itself is a chapter of life that I can tell you is even better than you dreamed. So hopefully this video is inspiring you, if you're on the edge, to consider making 2024 the year. And that's just a little breakdown. 519,500. If you want a detailed breakdown of of cost of living here on 3 different monthly budgets and show you where you would fit in once you start to determine what type of person you are. I did a video, it's right here, that breaks down cost of living and budgets and whatnot. Check that one out and see what type of lifestyle you would need and how much it would cost you. Hope this has been helpful, everyone. We'll see you again next Sunday.